𝗪ज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चादेशतारिणे। Okay, so it's a very nice verse actually, and this is one of the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam where Bharat word is used, one of the verse, and also one of those verses where it is said that to take birth in Bharat Bhumi, that's very fortunate, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed his verse. Prabhupada quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bharat Bhumi te manushya janjar jam sartha kari karo paropkar. Now by Bharat verse, what do we mean here? Bharat verse, of course in modern parlance it's India, but we are not talking about India here. Specifically, so in general it's India. As Srila Prabhupada used to say that people who are born in India have a responsibility to distribute this knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Indians are not meant for becoming computer scientists or for becoming doctors or any other profession. The only job of Indians should be the focus should be to preach this message of God all around the world. In Mahabharata, the boundaries of Bharat is explained. Bharat verse is said to be between, if you really focus what is Bharat, it's said to be between the southern part of Himalayas and the northern part of Vindhyachal. So the region between southern part of Himalayas and northern part of Vindhyachal, and also the region between Saraswati on the west and Ganga and Jamuna on the east. That was called Aryavrat, where Aryavrat, or that was also called 𝗪𝗪, as Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why it was called Aryavrat and why it was called 𝗪𝗪? Because Arya, so first we'll deal with this word Arya. Arya means Shreshtha. In Sanskrit, Arya means Shreshtha. Shreshtha means, so how can we say, leaders, let's say like the superiors and leaders who are superior, who are not inferiors, like that. Technically, literally in Sanskrit, Arya means who are fixed on the goal. The word arrow, it comes from the word Arya, who are fixed on the goal, whose goal of life is Krishna and his bhakti, that's all, devotion. Those people are called Arya. Srila Prabhupada, in very general way, he translates Arya as gentleman. Why? Because this Aryavrat is also called as 𝗪𝗪, which Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, following the commentary of Bhakti Siddhanta. Why it was called 𝗪𝗪? Because God comes from the word good. Good means sweet. So this whole tract of land between Himalayas and Vindhyachal in the north and the south, between Saraswati and Ganga from the west to the east, this whole land was sweet. That's the whole point. This whole land was full of sweet and gentle people, and that's why Prabhupada translated one of the meanings of Arya as a gentleman. So, or 𝗪𝗪 is also the land which is very sweet, because people here are sweet. People whose speech is sweet, whose actions are sweet, whose thoughts are sweet, whose goal is sweet. And by sweet in scripture, sweet is Krishna, raso vaisa. So who speak about Krishna, who think about Krishna, who act for Krishna, who live for Krishna, who die for Krishna, it's all Krishna. Raso Vaisah Rasam Hiyevayam Labdvanandi Bhavati. So that's why this tract of land Bharat was also called as Gaud. So one of the names of Bharat was Aryavrat, another, so Aryavarta, and another and another name is Gaudadesh because of sweetness in this land. Gauda, one of the another meanings of Gaud is from the word Gaur. Gaud is translated to Gauda. Generally, Gaur word is associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but this word Gaud specifically also comes from the word Gaur. Gaur means effulgent, light, Gaur, golden color, or knowledge. Light and effulgence is actually related to knowledge. So this tract, this Bharat Bhumi, which was also called as God Desh, means people here were very knowledgeable. People followed the system of God, that is Varnashrama system, and they were highly spiritual, and that is why they were very knowledgeable. So that is, so those are the few names of Bharatvarsh. Bharatvarsh is called as Aryavrat, or it's also called as Gaudadesh. Now Bhagavatam says that people who are born in this tract of land are very fortunate. Why they are fortunate? I mean to say, okay, so what about people who are not born in this tract of land of Bharat Bhumi? Some people say Bharat Bhumi is the entire earth, but if you really specifically pinpoint Bharat, that is this tract of land what I explained, or in general words you can say India. Now what is beyond this tract of land, Bharat? Now this Aryavrat and Gaudadesh, beyond this tract of land, in South India there were people who were outcasts. Andhra Pradesh comes from the word Andhra. Khasas, Srimad Bhagavatam says, these were outcasts people who are actually within the Varnashrama system, but nevertheless they are out of the divine caste system of Varnashrama. So what I mean is, still if you go to any village in Bengal, you will find Brahmanas in the center of the village, in the center, and then outside you will have Vaishyas, and then still outside you will have Kshatriyas, and outside you will have Shudras. This is the most common arrangement in any village of Bengal, even still today. If you go to Srirangam, that's the same pattern they follow. There is a Srirangam temple, then there are Brahmanas, and then outside Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and then Vaishyas, and then Shudras. So, but then outside the ring of Shudras, there are outcasts people like Chandalas. They are outcasts. Their job is to make things of skin of animals, and so these kind of things, or maybe so they make something out of garbage, something like this. So they live like that, like jungle people, like that. So they live. So they are within the society and nevertheless not within the society. So these are called outcasts. So at that time, Aryavrat was in this North India, so called. If I want to make you understand, but below Vindhyachal it was outcast. So that was there. So this whole India was actually, the entire India, north and south, it was called as Bharat Bhumi. But if you want to technically, I mean to say, if you want to really pinpoint what is Bharat Bhumi, that was between Vindhyachal and Himalayas. But if you want to little extend it, then it's whole India. Now what was beyond the boundaries of Bharat Bhumi? Beyond the boundaries of Bharat Bhumi were Malechas and Yavanas and Khasas and Pulindas, all these people. That means beyond the boundaries of India were people who didn't believe in Vedic culture, who were not Arya, who were un-Arya, who didn't belong to Gaudadesh, who were not sweet, who were rough. in general language, in general English language, they are called as barbarians. So we know Greek, European culture, I mean to say before the Enlightenment or industrialization, they were all barbarians. They didn't have any religion. We know by history. Not as a specific religion. People used to follow whatever they want to do by speculation. Even in even in the Persian area, Arab countries and these countries, there was no religion. When Prophet Muhammad came, then he introduced the religion Islam. In China, people didn't have any religion. They are still communist and atheists. So Malechas, Europeans, I mean to say, at that time, people there were mostly barbarians, and they were fighting. And we know by history there were fights and this and that and that. The point is, they didn't follow Vedic culture. They people outside Bharat Bhumi, they rejected Vedic culture. But much longer back, entire earth was following Vedic culture. But after that, in history it is said that after some time, these kings outside Bharat Bhumi, they rejected the Vedic culture and they become Malechas and Yavanas. Malechas means who, Ichha means desire, Mal means dirt, who desire dirt. Now, according to Vedic culture, what is dirt? So everything leaving aside spiritual knowledge, that is dirt and useless. Dirt is useless, having no value. So Malechas are those people who are interested in those things which are having no value. And what is having no value? Anything which is not connected to God, that is of no value. So this culture of Malechas was highly materialistic at that time, but they were not spiritual to the least. And Yavanas means who are interested in Yavan. Yavan means yawn, that means body and sex. So these people were Yavanas. They inhabited the Persian area, the Middle East, like that, at that time, long back. So they also didn't follow Vedic culture. In China at that time, they were all really. So at that time, we know Chinese history. They were all very degraded people, having no God, no religion. Kings were fighting with each other. So we know Jing dynasty and all this. This was like that. So mostly 5,000 years back, even before that, Bharat Bhumi was proud of having Vedic culture. It was like that. Beyond the boundaries of Bharat Bhumi, there was no Vedic culture. And that's why in Dharma Shastras, there is one injunction that you should not leave the boundaries of Bharat. Especially sannyasis are not allowed to go beyond the boundaries of Bharat, because if they go, there is all non-Vedic culture, and so they might lose their faith. They might fall on it. It's very risky, so they were not allowed to go. So what are demigods saying? Demigods are saying, well, people who have taken birth in Bharatvarsha, in this tract of land. Why Bharat? I just explained, because Bharat had somehow kept its Vedic culture enlivened and ongoing. Other areas outside Bharat, they lost their Vedic culture somehow, and they became barbarians. They rejected the Vedic culture. So that's the beauty of Bharat, because Bharat Bhumi is very conducive to following spiritual life. Now the whole idea is not that now we are born in Bharat, so we are superiors and they are inferiors. That's not the point. Superior, inferior, that's not how gentlemen think. The idea here is that this tract of land is conducive to spiritual realization. Any place which is conducive to spiritual realization, that is desired. Just like Prabhupada opened temples all around the world, and Srila Prabhupada said, my temples are Vrindavan. So you might live in original Vrindavan, or you might live in any Iskcon temple. this is equal to Vrindavan, because that is conducive to spiritual realization. Prabhupada called his temples as spiritual bubble. It's a bubble. You stay inside the temple and you're protected from Maya and this material world. So the idea is, because this Bharat Desh, this Gauda Desh, which was later called as Panchagauda, it had a strong Vedic culture, and the culture was so strong that people who are born in this culture, they automatically take up spiritual life. They don't have to really work hard within themselves. They don't have to from childhood they are spiritual. So even if you go 100 years back, my grandfather, grandmother, they used to automatically get up in the morning. Even now in villages, people get up at 3:30, and by 6 o'clock they have done so many things, and they do puja. They get up in the morning, and 50, 100 years back, 4 regulative principles were very normal. There were no 4 regulative principles, because people were not eating meat, people were not doing illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. It was natural. What we have today, even today, even Bharat Bhumi has degraded to a great extent. So now even in Bharat Bhumi we don't have Vedic culture. Everything is gone. The Western civilization, it has come up due to whatever reasons are there, and India has gone down because we have also left our Vedic culture. We have also become Malechas and Yavanas like that. So now it's a different situation. Now if we read Bharat Bhumi, it's a very different situation now. But people have got this mental setup of Malechas and Yavanas. They have become almost like barbarians. So in that context, what we see is this Bharat Bhumi is defined as perhaps ISKCON temples. Let's put it like that. People who are connected to temples, ISKCON, people who are connected to this ISKCON movement, they are very fortunate because they get a conducive atmosphere right from childhood. Now, for us now, what happens is, for us, what we think chanting holy names and 4 regulative principles, it's a very big thing. But I just told, in Aryavrat, in Bharatvarsha, it was very natural. Human life means following 4 regs and chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada also said these 4 regs and chanting Hare Krishna, it's to make you human, and then you slowly advance to become Vaishnava. Even today we can't claim that I am a Vaishnava, because the concept of Vaishnavism and being a Vaishnavism is a very high thing. But the point I want to make is that demigods are saying, Yair janma labdhanishu bharatajire, people who are born in Bharatvarsh, they are very, very fortunate. How wonderful, they are saying, for it is for these human beings to have been born in land of Bharatvarsh. Why? Because demigods were seeing that this, for them, they don't have to fight with their mind. Right from childhood they are following 4 regs. For demigods, following 4 regs is a big thing. They can't even imagine to follow 4 regs. Illicit sex, come on, forget it. I mean to say, they can't follow that rules and regulations, because in the demigods, in heavenly planets, sexual activities are allowed. It's not sinful. In human life it's sinful, but in demigods' life it is allowed. It's legal, as Prabhupada said. It's legal. They have apsaras and it's legalized there. So they can't even imagine not to follow this reg, illicit sex. Intoxication, they are drinking somras. They are addicted to somras, not just because it is intoxicating, because it is life-giving. They get all their powers and life and rejuvenation from somras. The side effect is intoxication, but nevertheless they have to take this, otherwise they become weak and they can't fight with demons and all these people. So they are forced to drink, in a way, somras. So they can't even follow that rules and regulations. Meat eating, of course they don't do meat eating in heavenly planets. That's okay with them. And gambling they do in the sense that there's a lot of mental speculation in heavenly planets. Of course, in heavenly planets, it's pretty clear Vishnu and Krishna is God, that there's no confusion. But nevertheless, there is speculation. There are so many Gandharvas, Kinnaras. All of them are really not clear about Vedic culture. Great demigods might be clear about what Vedas are saying exactly, but heavenly planets, that's also difficult. So mental gambling is there. Of course, Gandharvas and Kinnaras, they also play real gambling like chess and all these things. It's happening there also. So it's there. So that's why demigods are saying, come on, in Bharatvarsha, which is very favorable tract of land for following rules and regulations and becoming a human and chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, it's in their culture. In our culture, demigods are saying, in our culture, it's all sense gratification and it's so difficult. So that's why they're very fortunate. Or in modern parlance, we can say people who are born in Iskcon, they are very fortunate. In the community of Iskcon, they are fortunate because from childhood, they're following all these rules and regulations and chanting Hare Krishna. So, one word which demigods are using here is 𝗍𝗲𝗪𝗶𝗪. This word Amisham, Amisham means Amish. This is Amish. This comes from the word Amisham. Amisham. I don't want to speculate. Prabhupada says Amisham means of these inhabitants of Bharatvarsha. I think the word Amisham means who don't eat meat. I think so. I have to check, but as far as my Sanskrit knowledge goes, it means who don't eat meat. Bharat, and in fact, Mahabharata says that if you want to identify people from Bharatvarsha, suppose if you are lost on that planet, suppose if you have come from moon planet to this earth, and if you want to know where is Bharatvarsha, now you don't have GPS, you don't have anything, so it was recommended you just start walking to the east. Just start walking to the east. Now there's sunrise, you start walking to the east, and as soon as you hit a land where people have these two characteristics. One is they take bath daily. That's one thing. And second is they don't eat meat. That means you have reached the tract of land which is known as Bharatvarsha or Aryavrat or Gaudadesh. That's how people used to identify that we have reached Bharatvarsha. Alexander the Great, when he actually was conquering the entire world, he started from Macedonia. And he conquered all this Persia, and he was coming towards the east. Amish is one who eats meat. Yeah, that's fine. So Amisham. So who eats meat? Come on, who eats meat? Amisham. Amisham. Who here it means who doesn't eat meat. Amisham. So people who so when Alexander came here, so Alexander knew beyond Saraswati there are people who are belong to Bharatvarsha. He came, but Aristotle, his guru, Alexander's guru, he told that when you reach Bharatvarsha, of course you can identify Bharatvarsha through Saraswati. Beyond Saraswati, or beyond Sindhu river. That's how it goes. There is Bharatvarsha, but one of the characteristic, he also told that, so it's recorded, he told that in that tract of land people take bath daily. And even today we take bath daily, and even today beyond the boundaries of India, people don't take bath daily. People take bath in a week because of so many reasons, whatever, but very few people take bath daily. It's very, people just put scent and all these things outside India. But here, Indians cannot live without taking bath daily. It's in our culture, you see this. And we don't eat meat. I mean to say, present Bharatvarsha is not exactly Bharatvarsha. Its situation has changed, but this culture, taking bath, it still remains. Eating meat is lost, everybody is eating meat and it's gone. So, 𝗪𝗂𝗪𝗶𝗪𝗪, that's what they say, that demigods are surprised what kind of shobhanam, what kind of pious activities they have done. 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗀 shobhanam. So this is in past tense. What pious activities they did in the past, that was the whole point. In the past, what they were doing, some pious activities they might have done to be born in the tract of Bharatvarsha, because nothing happens by chance. Demigods are thinking, why we are not born in Bharatvarsha? Now, people in India, people at that time in Bharatvarsha, after Shankaracharya, there was Karma Kanda. And people were doing yagyas to go to heavenly planets, and heavenly planets, demigods are trying to come to Bharatvarsha. In fact, Srila Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was once in Kumbh Mela, and he told in Kumbh Mela that many demigods. So people were saying. So in Kumbh Mela there were so many yogis and so many things were happening. So Srila Prabhupada says in Kumbh Mela even demigods come. And Prabhupada said that demigods will come to have darshan of us. Prabhupada said, or be devotees in Kumbh Mela. So Prabhupada was once sitting, and so this was said to me. This was related to me. Incidents was related to me by Atmadatta Prabhu, and he was present at that time in Kumbh Mela when Srila Prabhupada was in Allahabad. And one man came, and Srila Prabhupada just stretched his legs out. And he stretched his legs out, and that man took out a plate. And he washed Prabhupada's feet. He took Charnamrita and just went. People were surprised. Who is this? He just came, and Prabhupada just agreed to made his legs, wash his legs and take Charnamrita. He was surprised. The devotees asked, who was he? Prabhupada said he was a demigod. Some devotees asked in one of letters, it is there, Prabhupada, devotees asked, should we not worship demigods, especially Ganesh? Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion that one should worship Ganesh before worshipping Vishnu. So devotees asked Prabhupada letter, Prabhupada, should we not worship Ganesh because it's written in Nectar of Devotion? Prabhupada wrote back, Prabhupada wrote, we don't go to Lord Ganesh. Lord Ganesh would come to see us. That was his response. The point is trying to make is not trying to demean Lord Ganesh. He's a very great devotee of Lord Narasimha. But what he's saying is that the position of Vaishnava is very, 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 very high. And Rupa Goswami writes a verse in Padhyavali. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness and one follows four eggs sincerely, what happens is Brahmaji starts preparing Aarti plate in heavenly planets, in Brahmlok. Because he knows that these people are going to get liberated. And then so when that soul will be going back to Godhead, they will have to go through Brahmalok, and at that time Brahma will offer his Aarti to them, and they will just go back to spiritual world. That's what Rupa Goswami writes. That's the position of Vaishnava. That's the position of people who are born in Bharatvarsha. Bharatvarsha not in literal sense, but in a very philosophical sense. Bharatvarsha. The present India have lost its whole Vedic civilization, and that's why Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said, my 50% work is left. I want to establish Varnashrama system. I want to bring back this Vedic culture back in Indians. Prabhupada went to America, and Prabhupada said, I brought Americans back to India so that Indians will take up spiritual life. And Prabhupada said, when Indians will take up spiritual life, then the whole world will change. So, although we have lost, I mean to say at large, we are almost like Malaysians now. Indians like this Bharatvarsha, it's gone. But things can be revived. There's still a ray of hope, at least our generation, at least the present generation. After this, even that hope will be lost, because you see all young people, they are simply corrupted. Now because of internet, everything is mixed up. Boundaries are lost. There are virtual boundaries, cyber boundaries, and everything is with everything, and that is why it's a whole mess. There is no Vedic culture around. And even people who are talking about Vedic culture, they are also talking complete nonsense. Only Srila Prabhupada books are the guide in the present age. Only the books what Prabhupada has given that can save this world. That's why Prabhupada was so much focused on distributing books. In fact, Srila Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan, and daily in his old age he was going out of Vrindavan, preaching in Delhi, and people of Vrindavan very confused. They were saying, in old age people come to Vrindavan to do bhajan and leave their body, but Prabhupada is going to Delhi. What's happening? Prabhupada said, my Guru said that to live in Vrindavan is Maya. We want to distribute Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada took Vrindavan outside and distributed, and he created Vrindavan in the hearts of people. Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur, somebody asked, what's your mission? Bhaktivedanta Swami Thakur, my mission is to make Krishna's temple in the hearts of people, and not just the buildings of bricks. That was his point. And that's the point. 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲𝗀 nishu Bharata jire. People who are born in this Bharatvarsha. The idea is people who have this consciousness of Bharat, the fervor and the zeal of Bharat in their hearts. Those people who have that zeal of Vedic culture in their hearts, they are really born in Bharatvarsha. Whether they are in America, China, India, wherever they are born in Bharatvarsha. Who have caught the spirit of this tract of Bharatvarsha in the modern times. They are technically called as the inhabitants of Bharatvarsha, and demigods see them like that from above. So, this point you have to remember when we are reading this shloka, otherwise it will be very confusing. And he is saying, Mukunda seva 𝗙𝗂𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗃 hina. They are saying that these people of Bharatvarsha, for them, liberation is in their fist. Why? Because they are naturally inclined to serve Krishna. Mukunda seva 𝗙𝗂𝗪𝗃𝗻. 𝗙𝗂𝗪𝗃𝗻 𝗪iha. Striha means desire. They have a natural desire to serve Krishna. That is a person who is born in Bharatvarsha. He is known as Bharat Janma. Anybody who has a desire to serve Krishna, he can be philosophically called as an Indian in normal sense. Indian is not a passport Indian. That's not the point. I mean to say, we use this modern parlance, but he is called Bharat. He has a Bharat Janma, who is having the desire to serve Krishna. Now this is important, this line. Why? Because demigods, you see, when it comes to demigods, they are very clear in their conception of spiritual life. It is said in Bhagavad Gita, what's that? So in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Adho tishtanti tamasa. People who are in tamagun, they go down. People who are in rajagun, madhya tishtanti rajasa. People in rajagun, they are on this earth planet born again. People who are in satagun, sattva, what's that? Rajo tishtanti madhyama, and urdhavam gacchanti sattvastha. People who are in satagun, they go up. So people who are the people who are born in heavenly planets? These are those people who accept that Vishnu is supreme. Otherwise you won't go up. If you do some pious activities and if you don't accept Vishnu is supreme, if you are really confused who is God, then you will be born on this earth planet and get some shadowy results of your pious activities. Because Bhagavad Gita has one more verse, Mogasha Moga Karmano Mogyana Vichetasa. Which is that verse? Mogasha Moga Karmano Mogyana Vichetasa. Krishna says, all the endeavors, all the thoughts, all the knowledge fails if they don't surrender to me. All their pious activities, Mog Karamano, will fail. So on the strength of that verse, many acharyas recommend that any pious activity if you do, if it is not related to Vishnu, you are not going up. Either you will be born on the earth planet or you will go down. So people in heavenly planets, they are at least clear on this fact that Vishnu is supreme. Only on earth planet there is so much confusion. Above it's clear. But they might not necessarily have pure devotion for Vishnu. That's the point demigods are raising. Demigods are saying, well, we know Krishna is supreme. Mukunda, they have desire to serve Krishna, that we don't have. We know Krishna is supreme, but we are too involved in our dance, music, Gandharvas, Kinnars, in our other things, and I mean to say Somras and all these their plays and fruits and parijat trees. It's so much distraction. It is said in heavenly planets there is a background music always. There's a background music. You don't become old. You have no pain. You have no people don't suffer birth. It's practically Vaikuntha. You are simply enjoying. That's why heavenly planets are called as Bhog Bhumi. Now, but the point I'm saying is, they know Mukunda. They know that Krishna or Vishnu is supreme. Everybody knows that. That's no confusion. I mean to say, Shiva is there, Brahma is there, and they regularly, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Varun, Agni, they regularly hold concerts to glorify Vishnu. And they themselves are there, and they themselves say Vishnu is supreme. They have no confusion. But the point which they lack is Mukunda Seva Opyoyakam Spriha. They lack the desire, Spriha, to serve Krishna. That's important. So you might know Krishna, but you might not have the desire to serve Krishna. And that's what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he made distinction between Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Brahmanas are those, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. Brahmanas are those who know Vishnu is supreme, but Vaishnavas are those who not only know Vishnu is supreme or Krishna is supreme, but they have a desire to serve Krishna. Now, that is why Bharat, demigods are very specific. Demigods are not saying that people who are born in tract of Bharatvarsha, they are very fortunate because they know Vedas, because they know Vishnu is supreme. That they also know. They might know better than us. But what they are specific on this point is they have the desire to serve Krishna. That is not available anywhere. And Rupa Goswami has written that beautiful verse. Prabhupada always quotes in his lectures. Tatra 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗀 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀. Prabhupada quotes, if you really want to have Krishna, you should have the desire. You need the desire to have him first. Otherwise, how will you have Krishna? And if you but to get that desire to serve Krishna, that's impossible. That is impossible. That janma koti sukrutiraphi na labhyate. So many lifetimes you have to spend to attain that desire to serve Krishna. That's what Rupa Goswami is saying. So many lifetimes. But Rupa Goswami is saying, if you manage to get it somewhere, if it is available somewhere, some shop, just go to them and ask them, I want the desire to serve Krishna. And that person in the shop will say, well, in exchange, I don't want money, I don't want anything, I just want your head. So instantly you should cut your head, give it to him, and take the desire to serve Krishna. That's how rare it is. Tatra 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗪 moolayam janma sukriti koti na apina labhyate. So that's what we are looking for. The idea of this verse, you see Bhagavatam is Amala Puran. And every verse is Vivatam Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. Every verse is offering the nectar of pure devotion. And in this verse again, demigods have come to the point. The whole idea is to have desire to serve God. We might have God in front of us, but if we don't have desire to serve Him, it's useless. We might be demons if we don't have desire to serve Krishna. Hiranyakashipu knew Vishnu, Raman knew Vishnu, but they wanted to kill him. That's why Prabhupada says, Anukulina Krishna Nushilinam. Anukulina means that favorable desire to serve Him. That matters. And why they are saying that people of Bharat Bhumi are very fortunate? Because in Bharat Bhumi, there are saints and sadhus who have this desire to serve Krishna within their heart. That's here in this in this Bharat Bhumi. And what saints transfer to us, of course, saints make us convinced that, okay, Krishna is supreme, that's one thing. So they give us knowledge of scriptures, that's one thing. But what they really have in their heart, what they give, what they want to give us this desire. And that transference is required from one heart to another heart. And that is why it is said, devotion takes birth from devotion. Bhakti sanjataya bhaktaya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. Now, what is bhakti? Bhakti is desire. So we always have to focus on this desire. Keep a focus on this desire. That makes you fortunate. Not necessarily if you are born in India, that makes you fortunate. That's the whole point. If you look this verse from a really philosophical perspective, it's not that if you're born in India, if you have visa of India, you're fortunate. That's not what they're saying. They are saying people who are fortunate in India, people who are born in India, why they're fortunate? Because they have the desire to serve Krishna. But if you're not an Indian, but if you have a desire to serve Krishna, you're equally fortunate. That's the whole point. That is what this verse is leading to. It is nothing to do with a tract of land or boundaries. It's nothing really to do with that. Technically, philosophically, it's to do with desire to serve Krishna. And that's what Chaitanya Prabhu says, Bharat Bhumi te manusya jalm jar, jam sartha kari karo paropkar. Anybody, I mean to say, this verse can literally also means people who are born in India, they have this duty to spread this message. Philosophically, it can also means people who have this desire to serve Krishna, just like we all connected to Prabhupada. Our function is to distribute this message. Perfect our lives by maturing this desire to love of God. When you have 100% desire to serve Krishna, that's called love of God. Perfect your, and that's called Janm Sarthakari and Paropkar. And also give this desire to others. Light a candle from a candle. That's what we are doing. So in a sense, preaching means to kindle the desire to serve Krishna in their hearts. Preaching doesn't mean a transference of information only or knowledge only. Preaching means transference of this desire to serve Krishna. That's what every lecture and every preaching should aim for. Your preaching is successful if the other party wants to serve Krishna more and more and more and more. That's the whole point. And they understand what is service in real sense. So that is this verse all about. Demigods didn't say that people who are one in the Bharatvarsh, they are fortunate because they are doing dan, they are doing tapa, they are doing yagya, they are doing swadhyaya. No. They are saying that these people are fortunate because they have desire to serve Krishna. You see, in other words, demigods know their stuff very well. Even to come to this conclusion is difficult. That so Krishna says in Bhagavatam, na dana, na yagya, na tapo. You cannot attain me by jnana, dana, or charity, austerity, sacrifice, mundane sacrifices, or maybe just reading of Vedas. You can't do that. Yatha bhaktir mamorjita. But you can attain me by devotion, by pure devotion. And what is the crux of pure devotion? That's a desire to serve Krishna and not desire to serve illusion. And that's what is whole fight all about. We now have a mixed desire. We want to serve illusion, we also want to serve Krishna. We want to serve ourselves, we want to serve society, we want to serve people, but no, we have to serve Krishna. And when we serve Krishna, then we serve the entire universe and entire earth and entire humanity. That's the real service. So in that sense, this verse is very nice. It is actually leading us to a goal, reminding us what we are supposed to do, and also helping us to understand what is real Vedic culture. All Vedic culture is directed towards this Mukunda Seva Opyekam Spriha. Spriha means desire. So that famous verse is there by Rupa Goswami. what's that? Spriya yavat 𝗙𝗲𝗃 vartate. What's that verse? Bhukti mukti spriya yavat 𝗙𝗲𝗃 hriday vartate. There also word spriya comes. If there's a desire for enjoyment, desire for liberation, then you will not be able to enjoy the bliss of devotion. Why? Because a desire for enjoyment, desire for liberation carries a desire for making ourselves happy. But desire to serve, the target of desire to serve is to make Krishna happy. That's the difference. And when you have the desire, when you have this understanding, and when you have this realization that serving oneself or serving others will simply lead to frustration and miseries, it's a cheating in one sense. Serving Krishna, that's real life, that is real bliss, and that is what is truth and reality. We have to be convinced within our core of soul. We might slip. This path is slippery. Prabodhanand Saraswati says this path is slippery. Even great sages, Muninam api, they also slip on this path. Why? Because this path is full of juice. There is a lot of rasa on this path. This path is overflowing with rasa. So if you walk, you'll slip because there's a liquid on the road. Slippery liquid, which is rasa. So we will slip, even great rishis slip, but no problem. If our direction is clear, if our understanding is clear, that's well enough. It's good to fall down again and again, but to be in the right direction, rather than not to fall down and go with a full speed but in a wrong direction. And that's what demigods are. Demigods are clear. By this verse, demigods are also condemning all this cheating dharma projita 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗀, which professes yajna, dan, tap, and all these things, and they say that this can make you attain Krishna. No. All these things can be favorable to devotion. All these things can help to actually mature, our desire to serve Krishna in a favorable way, but only these can never help you to attain Krishna. People who profess like that, they are cheating religion. So by this verse, demigods are also condemning cheating religion by the last line. And also demigods are very clear about the fact who is a person who belongs to Vedic culture. Simply by calling yourself Vedic and chanting Vedas doesn't make you belonging to Vedic culture. It doesn't. It's not suffice. It is not sufficient. Simply because you're born in a caste. So this verse is also condemning the mundane Asuri caste system. You see just by one line and two lines, demigods are also actually counteracting wrong philosophies and establishing the right philosophies. So this verse, that's why I told you every verse of Bhagavatam is Swadhu, Swadhu, Pade, Pade. There's so many functions of one verse of Bhagavatam to actually counteract wrong philosophies, to establish right philosophy, and to lead us to the right path and help us not to deviate from the right path and be focused on the goal and attain Krishna. That's this verse all about. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions here? I'll end here.